grade. Welcome back to history. This video is for April 21st. I hope you enjoyed learning about the Missouri Compromise yesterday and the importance that it played in the events leading up to the Civil War. We're on page 208 today, and we're going to be learning about Abraham Lincoln and the first states that began to leave the Union. But before we do that, I'd like to read a verse to you from Daniel chapter 2. It's verse 21, and it says, "He changes times and seasons. He removes kings and sets up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who have understanding." So this verse teaches us that God is in control of who is in leadership in countries. And it was God's desire and his choice to have Abraham Lincoln be our country's president during the difficult time of the Civil War and that period in our country's history. So we're on page 208, and the heading says, Abraham Lincoln becomes president. In 1860, it was an election year, just like it is this year. And Abraham Lincoln had become quite well known throughout the country. He had had a number of debates with a man named Stephen Douglas, and Abraham Lincoln had been debating against slavery while Stephen Douglas had been in favor of it. And through these debates, Abraham Lincoln became well known. So his name was on the ballot for president that year. A new president of the United States was to be elected in 1860. Throughout the North and West, a tall man from Illinois, Abraham Lincoln, had become popular. Above all, Lincoln wanted our country to remain one strong union. He did not want to see our country divided. So Abraham Lincoln was against slavery. He was not in favor of it, and he did not want to see it spread in our country, and he wanted our country to stay together. He did not want to see the southern states separate from our country. Let's go on. Abraham Lincoln cared about the South's problems, but the people of the South said they would not trust him as their president because they knew he disliked slavery. If Abraham Lincoln becomes president, the South will leave the Union. So the southern states felt that because Abraham Lincoln was against slavery, he wouldn't be fair to their states. But he wanted to be fair. He wanted to have the country stay together, but the southern states wouldn't give him a chance to work that out. Abraham Lincoln was elected our president. True to their words, the South began to carry out their threat of leaving the Union. So because Abraham won the election in 1860, the southern states decided that they would leave the Union, that they would not be part of the United States anymore. So a few months later, when he took office, the southern states began to leave. The South leaves the Union. South Carolina was the first state to leave the Union. Within a short time, 6 other southern states made the same decision: Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, and Texas. These states formed their own nation called the Confederate States of America. They elected Jefferson Davis as their president. So after Abraham Lincoln took office in 1861 as our 16th president, these states left the Union: South Carolina, Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, and Texas. And they called themselves the Confederate States of America. So they said, we are no longer part of the United States. We are our own separate country. We are the Confederate States of America. They did not recognize Abraham Lincoln as their president. They elected their own president, Jefferson Davis. Now, Jefferson Davis was a well-known politician in the United States government. He had served in the House of Representatives and in the Senate and held other political positions. And so when the southern states left the Union in 1861, he left his post in the Senate to become the president of the Confederate States of America. Let's go on. The people of the United States listened to as Abraham Lincoln begged the North and the South not to become enemies, but they had already become enemies. So it was President Lincoln's desire to keep the country together. He did not want to see our country divided. He did not want to see our country go to war. But with the secession of the southern states, it seemed like that was the only thing that was going to bring our country back together. And then if you look at the two pictures on page 208, the one at the top shows you the picture of the soldiers. The caption says, "Being a soldier was not pleasant. Food, uniforms, and supplies were scarce. Sickness and disease were common." And then there's a picture of Abraham Lincoln. So what you're going to do today is the comprehension check on page 208. It's Comprehension Check 13A. There are 4 questions. I'd like you to write out the question and the answer, and you can find that assignment on our Royal Notes, and you can go to the Google Classroom for that.